What's going on, sports fans? Ryan Kostrowski here. This is Wisconsin Sports Talk. We are going to preview the Bucks at the Bulls tonight. It's Monday. We got a really big NBA slate last night. Much love to the Orlando Magic for going into the Great White North last night and yesterday during the day, taking out the Toronto Raptors. They sat Kawhi. They thought they would get away with that game. The Magic didn't let that. Very similar to right before the All-Star break when the Bucks decided to rest Giannis at home. Magic weren't taking that day either. They're playing really good ball right now. So kudos to them for knocking off the two top teams in the East. Granted, they didn't have their stars. I know. I didn't get an opportunity to watch a ton of that Bucks game, but the Magic really gave it to them. I did watch most of the game yesterday, and they really gave it to the Raptors. They played some great basketball. Good for us. Gives us a game up. Now we move into the issue that the Milwaukee Bucks are very, very likely going to be sitting Giannis Antetokounmpo tonight against the Chicago Bulls. Let's break down this game, get into some of the ins and the outs of it, and decide how we think this one is going to go. All right, guys. So, again, this is Wisconsin Sports Talk. I'm a professional YouTube person. I do a lot of daily fantasy sports stuff on a different station. Just started this channel. This is episode 5. We are here to talk Bucks, Brewers, and Packers. I wanted to put it out there. I want to start bringing people on so we can talk over this stuff together, so it's not just me up on my soapbox discussing these things and going through it. Reach out to me if you're interested. Some of you guys are probably some of my DFS customers. If you're Packers, Brewers, and Bucks fans, let me know. Somebody watching this, you might just be a friend of mine, and you caught it on Facebook or whatever it be. Let me know if you'd like to do that. I'm pretty flexible about when we get on to discuss these things. I like working when it comes to my sports stuff, so just hit me up and let me know if you want to talk. If you're new to the station, guys, sincerely appreciate anybody who hits that thumbs up button. It does help spread me around YouTube. It is difficult getting a new station off the ground. I happened to strike when the iron was hot for the DFS thing, and that thing has grown pretty well. But I put up a channel before, there was a lot of them out there. This is a little bit more difficult because there are a lot of people out there talking sports. You want more videos talking about Brewers, Bucks, and Packers, hit that red button and press subscribe. Again, who am I? Green Bay, Wisconsin, born and raised, left about 10 years. I'm back now. We do daily fantasy sports analyzation on a daily basis. It's a DFS 5-pack if you're interested. Tonight, we got the number 1 team in the NBA as far as record is concerned, Milwaukee Bucks, headed in about, 90 miles south to Chicago to take on the Chicago Bulls. Giannis is listed as doubtful tonight. Obviously, when the best player in the game, or at least one of the best players in the game, the future MVP, is very likely not playing tonight. They called it a knee issue. It's more than anything, it's a maintenance game. They asked this guy to do a lot. They want to get him rested and ready for the playoffs. I hope they can skate through this game because I want that number 1 seed. I feel more comfortable in the event that we have to play Toronto, because we're going to either be the 1 or the 2 seed, that we get 4 home games. I think that's a pretty common sense approach. I don't want to lose this one. We are still the better team. I'll get into the whys of that, but it's a lot closer when Giannis isn't playing because he is the best, or one of the best players in the league. So who's going to win this one? Do the Bucks have an opportunity to win it? Of course the Bucks have an opportunity to win it. Even without Giannis, they got the Bledsoe, Malcolm Brogdon, Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, Nikola Mirotic, Ersan Ilyasova. So this is still a really good and deep roster, even post Giannis. But anytime you take an MVP off of a team, they're not going to be nearly as good. So from a sports betting perspective, I see Milwaukee favored by 7.5 right now. On the road, no Giannis. I don't really bet on sports, guys. I do a lot of daily fantasy sports, a lot of regular fantasy sports, which requires me to look at games from a sports betting angle, but I don't really bet on sports. That being said, guys, I don't mind putting some good money on Chicago covering this game tonight. I feel pretty confident that we're not going to be able to blow them out of the water. Again, the NBA is so reliant on three-point shooting these days. If the Bucks come out and Middleton and Brook Lopez hit, combined 9 threes in the first quarter, we should be able to probably run the floor with them, but that's far from a guarantee. And there's no reason to think the Bulls couldn't do the same thing to Milwaukee with Lauri Markkanen, Zach LaVine. Otto Porter's questionable. He's another guy with good three-point range. So, again, I am worried about this game tonight. We should be able to still lock down the number 1 seed even if we lose this one, but I don't want to take that chance. So I am a little bit concerned. A couple of reasons to be a little bit concerned. The Bulls are coming in tonight confident, coming in hot. They just roughed up the Celtics. We know the Celtics have had a tendency to play down to lower opponents this year. It's why their record isn't that great compared to where everybody thought that they would be. But, give credit to the Bulls for what they did. They roughed up Boston the other night. They also beat that red-hot Magic team we talked about. So Chicago comes in tonight extremely confident on their home court. They got some decent players. They're not a great team by any stretch of the imagination. Their record proves that. But they're not a team littered with scrubs. When you look at like the New York Knicks, they have no business winning a lot of those basketball games. There's some decent players on the Bulls. Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, Otto Porter if he's available. Robin Lopez has been playing big minutes lately, and he's not as good as his brother Brook. He's a wily veteran. Chris Dunn is no scrub. They got some okay players on the Bulls tonight. And again, they come in really, really confident. It's been a long time since I've looked at a game and thought Milwaukee wasn't going to win. I knew when we lost to OKC a few weeks back, that would be a tough matchup in Oklahoma City. But this is a game with no Giannis I am a little bit concerned about. So the other thing here that kind of favors the Bulls is they've played Milwaukee extremely competitive. If you guys remember, I believe it was the first time they met up this year, the Bulls had a really good halftime lead against Milwaukee. Now, Milwaukee came out and played probably the best quarter of basketball that any one team has played against anybody this year in the third quarter. I think they were like plus 30, plus 35 in quarter three, which is absolutely off the hook. It's amazing. But the Bulls at times have like stuck with Milwaukee this year. So that is not a good thing for the Bucks rolling into tonight. A couple other things to bring up. Like I said, they're at home, coming in hot. Now, what are my points for Milwaukee winning this game? Because ultimately, I do think that they are going to win a close one. The Bucks have lost the last two times that Giannis sat. Whatever it was, month and a half ago, they went to Washington. The Wizards were on fire, absolutely unconscious. Tomas Satoransky was amazing that night. That was partly bad Bucks. More than anything, just give credit where credit was due. The Washington Wizards were on fire and played a very good basketball game that night. And then, the aforementioned game against the Magic a little bit before the All-Star break, you had Milwaukee on the tail end of a back-to-back, but at home, you should be able to beat the Magic. And the Magic not only won, they gave the Bucks their worst loss of the year. So I do think a lot of people will look at these two games and think, oh, Milwaukee's just not that good without Giannis. Well, they're still a pretty decent team. They would probably still be a lower-end seed playoff team in the East, even without Giannis. I do think that is a point in Milwaukee's favor for tonight. That being said, the Bucks know that they've played poorly the last two times they played without Giannis. And because they still have some pretty good bodies out there, I think you see a good effort from them tonight. I think they know what's at stake. I think they know that every game matters. You want that number one seed. To a team like the Golden State Warriors, who last year didn't nail that number one seed, it wasn't that big of a deal. They're the Golden State Warriors. And as great as this Milwaukee team has been all year, and I've gone on and on about it, they got something to prove. They haven't won a playoff series in a long time. They haven't been the number one seed in a really long time. So this is important to them. A team like Golden State last year, it doesn't matter. When you've got multiple championships over the last couple of years, a number one seed in the regular season doesn't mean squat. But for a team who hasn't had the number one seed, best of my memory, my entire lifetime, and I'm a 38-year-old dude, that does mean something. So I do think you get a good effort from him. Ace in the hole, we saw it last game. We saw it, little flashes of what he can add to this team, and that's Mirotic. Still not up on a full minutes load. It's possible he could start tonight, though. So, look out for that. He's taken on his old team. And a lot of times when we do daily fantasy sports breakdown, we'll talk about players going against their old teams. Now, the public usually sides with the player. I've been tracking this for the last month just to prove my point. And more often than not, these guys do not succeed in this position. That being said, I do like this spot for Mirotic because this is not a spot. The Bulls don't hate Nikola Mirotic. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't a spot where they're like, oh, we got to stop this dude. Half the guys on this team barely you knew him because they were only together for a short period of time. This is more of a get-up spot probably for Mirotic, who got punched in the face by Bobby Portis and left the Bulls, probably a little bit with his tail between his legs. If he's aggressive, getting those rebounds, he is really good with – while he's not a great defensive player, he's got fast hands. He gets a lot of steals. He's not a bad rebounder. And if he's making his three-pointers tonight and he's aggressive, he's an absolute X factor. We saw him in the playoffs last year when he was a New Orleans Pelican. play a great series against the Portland Trailblazers. A big part of why the Pelicans, in their best 4 games, probably as a team, swept through the Portland Trailblazers, and he was a big part of that. So all in all, I expect Milwaukee to win tonight. I expect it to be close. If you're taking this from a sports betting angle, I like Milwaukee to win, but I like the Bulls to cover. And if I had a gun to my head and I could only choose one, I would bet the Bulls to cover in this situation. I think 7.5 is a lot of points to give a team that does not have, or very likely doesn't have, their MVP going tonight. So if Giannis plays tonight, none of this means jack squat, right? Everything we just talked about is no longer comes to fruition. He's listed as doubtful. I can only take the information at hand, and if you tell me the dude's doubtful, I'm assuming he is legitimately doubtful and not going to be a part of the team tonight. So should be a good one. I've already brought it up a couple times. From a daily fantasy sports perspective, if you play on FanDuel or if you play on DraftKings, this game has got a buttload of appeal. And there's a lot of guys from Milwaukee who are going to get a spike in usage, who haven't had their prices go up because the announcement of Giannis being doubtful came late yesterday. DraftKings, and I don't know about FanDuel because I don't play on there, didn't have an opportunity to change around their pricing. Eric Bledsoe would be my favorite of the group, but I also like Brogdon. I love the idea of Mirotic. And then Ersan and Brook Lopez and Middleton, all of these guys can be taken a look at from a DraftKings perspective tonight. This game has game stack appeal. We've watched the Bucks in a lot of games this year. You can think of some of those games against Washington. You can think of the other night against Minnesota. I mean, once shots go in, these two teams fly up and down the court. And while the Bucks have the best defense in the NBA this year, it doesn't always look that way. So a lot of times they'll play a little bit more lax defense for 3 quarters, rely on their offense to kind of keep up. And then in the 4th quarter, they clamp down. You saw it against Indiana the other day. You saw it against the Timberwolves the other night. This is a great 4th quarter team. It's why I love their possibilities in the playoffs this year. That being said, they don't play that way all 4 quarters. And guys like Lauri Markkanen, Robin Lopez, Zach LaVine, all have some really nice appeal from a DFS perspective tonight. So there is plenty to like in this game. All right, guys, go Bucks. If you are interested in coming on the show and talking Bucks, we got Brewers season coming up. Packers season, again, it's still a little ways out, but I'm more than happy to talk football at any point. Let me know. Follow me on Twitter, however you want to hit me up. Let's talk over some Wisconsin-based sports, guys. Thank you for watching today. Have a wonderful Monday, and go Bucks in it.